thing. It's the English in English podcast. That's Eric.
That's Brett.
We're gonna get it started.
Yep.
So
I have a list this time.
you came prepared.
I did come prepared.
A+. You get the gold star.
So the first thing I noticed was driving around on my motorbike. The look.
Your motorcycle.
My
on
motorcycle.
My motorcycle.
The look in the eyes of lesser men.
The wistful
See
look.
me, was this like an acknowledgement? And it's like, yeah, maybe one day. And they have like the 7 kids in their minivan kind of thing.
There was only slightly related because it involved this was like a scooter, not a motorcycle.
Oh, and that almost happens too. There's like this, not to cut you off, but there's this like wave thing that motorcycles do to each other.
Yeah.
And I almost did it to a guy in a scooter accidentally.
I was like, oh no, not for you.
Yeah, fuck you.
No, yeah. Fuck off. Now this was like 2 girls like downtown, like getting off a thing. But what was funny is they had a rather unusual like old school one, not like a modern scooter. It had like a metal wire frame. It looked like it was
An old Vespa or something.
well something I couldn't tell. But what was funny is like I think they were a little bit put out because I was staring more at it than them. You know,
Right.
It's like you kind of look like lesbians, but
Yeah,
this
get off this thing. I'm
get
trying
off
to
this
stare
thing.
at
I'm
this
trying to see
strange-
what kind of this weird vehicle this is. It's kind of
Get your
cool.
meaty flanks out of the way.
Right? Yeah.
I'm always
Shouldn't be
looking- I
thicker
see-
than the motorcycle
Yeah.
you're riding.
I always see the team. There's always teams of women riding around those little scooters. I'm just like, they're so precarious looking, and like wobbly,
yeah.
and I'm
The-
just waiting for them to just bust their ass and slide
It's a
down
surprise.
the road.
You know, we're one step closer to Vietnam levels of living.
Right,
now.
we're just like everyone's on a little scooter puttering around.
Right. Soon there'll be chickens in the back. You know,
in the
like
baskets.
baskets in the back.
And putting like pigs on papooses and stuff.
Right.
That's hilarious.
That'll just make the traffic jams and crashes all the more horrific, as now several species of animal are involved in the crashes.
Yeah, it's like mangled parts. You don't know what it's from.
Right, it's like drunk driving videos like, this could happen to you, and it's like a man with his head bisected by a cow.
Right,
you know?
a cow, like pig leg is like
Right.
stabbed through his ear. I have something on my list here that just says "guy convinces."
Well, that's very helpful.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what it is now. Actually,
It has worked. The list
there
is
was
served its
yeah, it
purpose.
did. I guess I'm very what's the word? Efficient with my words. I only had to use 2. It was this article I read where some guy in India convinced his cult of like 200
I
dudes
saw
to chop
this,
their
yes.
balls off.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
400 guys.
400?
It was 400
I knew
guys.
it was several hundred.
Like, yeah, like he had convinced 400. It was weird, too. It was
All
like
disciples or whatever.
disciples, yeah, like to chop their balls off to be, you know, closer to God, get rid of temptation or something like
Right.
that. Which is, what's fun to me is like one of the person who was commenting on it, the person who had linked it,
Yeah.
mentioned that this was a case of like, they were criticizing certain religious leaders for using the religion as a way to be like the only real man in the room.
Start denigrating
Basically,
everyone else.
yeah, but
You
basically
are
like
feeble and weak-hearted.
right, yeah,
not
exactly.
Like me.
Not like me, yeah, or be like, you need to get closer to God by castrating yourself. Meanwhile, I will be fucking your wives.
Right.
Like, you know, it's like, oh, I see what's going on here.
But also, apparently, I also read a story. I don't know if this was fake or not, but there was some like Mexican soap opera star or something who like got roofied and woke up like with his balls chopped off, like surgically removed.
God.
Like for like he didn't even notice till like he woke up and was like, oh, and went home like all fucked up.
Right, didn't
Because
pull his pants
they'd been
down
like
until he goes to
surgically
the shower.
removed, not just like hacked off.
Right, so it's
Like,
all
stitched
sewed back up, and he had been
everything.
drugged and sedated.
Right, yeah, so he was just achy and everything in general, I guess. But yeah, apparently there was some like weird black market like collectible or something like
God,
person's
people
balls.
are awful.
We'll have to put the links to these things in the
Yeah.
description.
Write that one down so we remember to...
Mexican soap stars balls removed.
That's going to be weird when
heartbeat.
somebody sees my journal
Yeah,
one day.
exactly. If you die in a crash,
I've been listing
Forget
all these
not
things-
having dirty underwear. This is
Right,
way
yeah.
more. To use your last breath to like eat the papers we've been writing on and delete our search history.
Right, yeah. Delete our search history. Like, why were you searching about Mexican soap stars' balls? I do a podcast instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that.
Right, yeah.
What is this podcast about? Balls. So far, it has been about nothing but balls.
Just
and
about.
motorcycles.
Motorcycles. And
And
balls.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then I had more adventures in selling junk to the dregs of society. Actually, this wasn't. Even
It's
dregs.
always adventures.
This wasn't even. It wasn't supposed to be junk either, but it was. It's just eBay.
Yeah.
I had a pair of boots, brand new boots that Dad had gotten me years ago, and they were the wrong
Never used
size,
them,
and I
yeah.
never used them. And by this point, I couldn't turn them back in or whatever. So this must have been a factory mistake because I'd never even pulled them out of the box.
Yeah.
They were like Welco combat boots. So I take the pictures, list them on eBay, ship them to this guy. sold them for like $60 because they're brand new.
Yeah.
And then I get a message saying that there were 2 lefts. 2 left
It's like you never noticed because you never used
because I
them.
never put them on. And like I just pulled the boots out individually to take the picture. Like when they're brand new like that, I'll just set one boot on top of the box, take the picture, then take a picture of
Just
the
like
open,
the store display.
Right, of the open box with the 2 boots in there.
Just
so I never
same
like
store
set
display
them
method, yeah.
side by side there because they're just brand new boots. I looked them over, make sure there's nothing missing.
Right, yeah.
But never noticed. So then, I got them back and I was like, I don't know what the hell to do with these now. It's 2 left boots.
Right, yeah.
It must have just been a factory mistake that I didn't catch because I never.
Because you never used them.
Never used them, so now I lost because I had to pay for the return shipping too.
Yeah.
So it's not just that I refunded his money; I lost like $10. So
That's always the worst.
Speaking of balls,
But at least with that one, that wasn't caused by the people you were selling it to in their
some kind of
weird
derelict.
subhuman
no,
ways.
they were just
yeah.
like, "You sent me 2 left boots. I want a refund."
Right,
And I
yeah,
was
it's
like,
like,
what?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, I don't know how that happened. Ship them back.
Yeah. Well, that's
I was half expecting them to just be full of shit or something, but
Yeah.
I don't know if that'd be better or worse. I guess it'd be better because I would at least have the boots to sell again.
Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
It always sucks when you lose some
I
money.
didn't buy them, at a garage sale or anything, so I'm not out anything other than that return shipping. But
Right. But so now that's essentially you bought 2 left pairs of shoes.
for $10.
For $10.
Yeah, exactly.
Initially, it was just a mistake. You got the
Right.
wrong size. You need as a gift. Then now you need to send them
But
back.
I also got 2 lefts.
But I also got
I
2
didn't
lefts.
notice it.
Well, I guess now it's even more clear why I needed to get rid of them.
Yeah, really. I mean, now they're really not helpful. Because they were a size that I could. That's why I kept them. Is because under certain circumstances I could wear 11s, just not comfortably.
Yeah, not for long
put
combat
an extra
edition.
pair of socks on.
Well, you need good fitting for any sort of combat
yeah.
role. If you're supposed to be taking them with you when you were on tour back in the day, and
I
they
figured
need
to have
to
extra
fit.
pair for the apocalypse or whatever. But then eventually I had like 12 extra pairs.
Right.
So I was like, I need to get rid of all this crap. So then,
Yeah.
and since they weren't the right size anyway,
I did something strange and unusual this week.
touched a girl.
No, that's not strange or unusual. I do it strangely.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not strange or unusual.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's not unusual. It's just the way.
The methods are strange.
Right.
The occurrence, the rate of
Find
occurrence.
his methods. He's evolving.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happened?
I read a newspaper.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, what is that?
Well, kids, if you don't know, newspapers were the internet printed on paper. I was waiting around at a restaurant for my order, and they had newspapers there, and so I was reading it. It was like the local.
It's so hard to browse.
Yeah,
And then you got to go to different sections to finish.
How do you search? You're like, where's the search function? No, but anyway,
Control
it was.
F.
I just remembered how unfunny the funny pages are in the newspaper.
I was just talking.
I
to
laughed
someone
at
about this.
one.
And most of them are just like they're like it's like
It was
I don't think
chuckle
we could
worthy.
we would accidentally be funny with that.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd have to purposely try to be that unfunny. Like these people are being paid,
Yeah, they're being paid to turn out the most tapioca bland crap that is possible.
but it's not even like goofy, like lame popsicle stick jokes that are just like ha ha. They're like just literally not funny.
Right, there was
Some
only
of them
one that
are
was-
not even actual jokes.
Right,
they're just like something happens in
an
this
occurrence.
character's life.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
occurrence
just
like, oh,
literally
look at the kid, they did something silly. It's like,
Or not even that. Some of them
takes
are like
3 panels
almost
to
like
a
a mini
meaning.
soap opera thing.
Yeah.
They're not even dramatic. There's no like sex or violence. It's just like
they have to do it in 3 panels. Like, oh no, I wistfully look into the
yeah,
middle
or like
distance.
weird ones, just weird shit.
But anyway, like the only one that was funny on the whole page, like the whole inside page is the funny pages.
They don't have
There was
Farsight
one,
anymore.
yeah, exactly. The main thing is like we got spoiled back before the internet. The best artists had to be in either comics or comic books or
Didn't
newspapers.
see the internet, right?
Right, and now they don't need those restrictions, so the best guys are on the internet where they have no restrictions. I mean, it's
Right.
harder to get an audience per se, except for the fact it's not anymore because the newspapers
There's no
just don't have an
barrier to
audience.
entry, right? And no one's reading the newspapers anyway.
Right, you have to generate an audience yourself online, but nobody's reading the
There's
newspaper
not like
anyway.
a threshold that you have to get to before you can start doing anything.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? So-
But what was the only one that was in there was funny. Is I don't even remember what comic strip it was, but it's just a single panel one, like
Yeah.
kind of like a Far Side-esque kind of one. It said what birds think angels look like, and it had birds with human arms instead of humans with wings or
Yeah.
whatever. And it just like took me a second. I'm looking at it like, what is going? And then I was like, snort,
Right.
guffaw. But that was it. That was the best the whole page could do. Was like a snort, like, oh, they have arms.
Yeah,
Okay.
my girlfriend got one of those, like, it's like a Far Side like that, where it's
Yeah.
just a one panel. But it was some dude, I forget what it was called. And her boss had, like, given her some random calendar, which was, like,
Yeah, full of those.
Well, it was like a big notepad, but it was 365 of those.
Right.
Like, literally
Back
every
when
day
Far
I
Side
would go
was-
check it, and they were like, none of that. Not a single one. I think there was like 2 that were like elicited any kind of chuckle.
Right.
And there was probably like 30 that I was just like staring at them, and I was like, either I just really don't get this, or it's just not even a joke.
Well, the thing is that the old ones,
They're terrible.
They had
So
some sort of
terrible.
dark humor in them. Like Far Side is pretty twisted, you know.
Right.
Like, and the genius of that guy was he knew a way to get twisted stuff into just mild that the newspaper could run it.
Right, but
It wasn't
like
twisted like
perverted or
perverted. No, it was
anything,
twisted in like dark humor, like
humor,
the
yeah.
absurdity and weirdness of life, kind of thing.
Right, or he just do a goofy exaggeration. Or
Not
at
like
least
a
it
cat.
was funny.
Right, but like it didn't come from a place of look at this silly cat picture.
Or like,
I've made a
is so big again.
right. Oh, I've made a pun. You know,
Right.
it was like like the children. You know, like, it'd be like the ones where. Like the Far Side, where the like the children's orphanage is right next to the fireworks
wolf farm.
factory or the wolf
It was
farm.
literally all peering over the fence.
Right? Yeah,
like
exactly.
coyotes.
Yeah, it's just kind of grim, kind
Or
of
like
black
a
humor,
needle
even
in
though
the
it's not shown violently.
Right. Or just
Yeah.
as making fun of stupid tropes, like
Right.
there was one that he had the door, like this woman was opening, and he had always had those 70s women with like the weird glasses.
Right,
and
yeah, the
stuff.
waspy
And
glasses.
there's like this big like insect thing, and
Right,
she
yeah.
was like, "But Edna, what if it's a 7-foot tall cockroach with feelings?"
Yeah, exactly.
He wanted to come in.
Right, yeah, please let me.
It doesn't really make any sense,
Right, yeah,
but
no.
it's just funny anyway.
Yeah. But also, while reading this newspaper, like I said, it was the local newspaper. I saw a story that was kind of
Oh, the alligator or something.
yeah,
Or the
didn't know how to take it. There was apparently the school here, UF, just started a new department or a new like organization called
Thought
the
it'd be
agency,
Yeah.
and it's a student staffed ad agency for the school.
Ad agency.
Right, it's a marketing and ad agency. So
For the
basically
school
now,
itself?
yeah,
So they're like a
it-
promotional department.
promotional department for the school.
So it's like a propaganda.
A
arm.
propaganda arm.
Yeah.
Well, basically, the schools always have
They
like
are
any business.
businesses, so to speak.
Yeah,
Even though
always-
they get free government money.
Right, exactly. But I mean, they've already had these
Yeah,
kinds of
that's nothing
departments.
new.
It's just now they have a new one that's
Because they are trying to sell
they-
a product.
right. They've redone it. So I'm of a two minds because on the one hand, this is probably more what schools should be doing, where as a student, you get some sort of real world experience out of it, not like classes.
Or
You're
in marketing or
in
whatever,
marketing,
yeah.
you're getting marketing experience, marketing an
public
actual
relations,
product,
whatever,
doing
yeah.
public relations, whatever. On the other hand, here you have, like you said, a largely government-funded institution getting free labor out of a bunch of students that have to take their stuff to
Just
help make them their millions.
To help make more, yeah.
And it's like, and it's just like
There were probably a lot
facepalm.
of lies and obfuscations and deceptions, too.
Right. Well, it's not even that. I mean, like, yeah, you expect
Oh,
that
it's
out of
gonna
marketing.
happen.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
of course. But I'm just saying, like, this is the same problem with all kinds of things. It's the same problem with unpaid internships and all these things going around. It's like, they sound good, and it's a thing that's existed forever in some form or another. Like, oh, do a little work for me now, and then we'll see how it turns out.
Right.
But the problem is when it becomes codified too much, it just becomes pointless because now like you start getting a whole economy based around we make lots of money off of not having to
Like
pay
serfs, yeah.
it's exactly like back in the day if it was done it at least wasn't I mean, well, I don't want to say back in the day, because way back in the day, of course, it literally was done, where you just never got paid, or, you didn't have any rights, and unions or something had to come around to make sure when you lost your arm in the factory, you could actually still get some money or something,
We should I'm going to start some non-paying internships for call girls or escorts.
Right, exactly.
Just make sure they can do their job.
I need some marketing professionals.
Right. I'll give them an unpaid internship.
Requirements are 36, 26, 36.
That's the resume. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, speaking of love, I have this thing that I gave my girlfriend. I found it for Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah,
I'm such a hopeless romantic.
I would use that to describe you every day of the week.
I found it in a storage unit. It's a 14. It's a commercially made love coupon book, but I modified it.
So if you want to have a cheap Valentine's where you don't really give anything and you just give kitschy coupons, do it from a store where it has no personal touch.
Well, this one I didn't like the option, so I modified it.
Okay.
Like this one, like the coupon says, the first one says it's 14 love coupons. It's this little book, and these are printed. It's not something that some dude wrote.
Right. Yeah.
This is like a commercially available thing. Anyways, the first one says a weekend at your favorite resort, and I changed it to say a weekend at your favorite McDonald's.
More within budget.
And there's like little idioms on the back of each one, and I fixed those too. So this one says love grows each time it is shared, and I said love grows each time it is stroked.
More correct.
This one says full day doing whatever you like. I changed it to full day doing me. This one says love always endures, and I wrote cat smell always endures.
Love endures and
Bubble back,
reoccurring cat
rubber
smell.
ducky included, and I changed it to rubber phallus included. This one
No, you want it to not be the rubber one.
Well, sometimes,
Sometimes you invite someone else to the party.
do anything with it. Love always hopes.
We apologize
This
to our
one says,
listeners
"Love
who may
always
be
hopes."
related to us that now.
And I wrote for seconds.
Yeah.
This one I just had to fix it. It said afternoon delight, coffee, tea, and me. But there were no commas.
Right.
It said coffee, tea, and me. What's coffee, tea? So I added the Oxford commas.
Oxford commas I will stand up for
Yeah,
every
exactly,
time.
every
I don't
time.
understand, like, some people are like, oh, you don't need those commas. It's like, no.
Right.
There's too many people who can't write a coherent sentence. Force
Well,
a comma
it adds
everywhere
that,
it could
like,
be.
Pause. It makes mean like coffee, tea, and me. Otherwise,
Right.
coffee tea. Like, what's coffee tea? Is it green tea? Hot tea?
A coffee-flavored tea,
Yeah,
you know,
but
like,
it could
why
be,
would-
it
yeah,
could
they
be
could make
if
that.
you had a coffee tea, that's how you would write it. So
Exactly.
you need to
If such a thing
distinguish.
existed,
Right,
there would
that's
not
how
be
you
a
write
comma, so put a comma.
And this one says, love is the best gift of all. I said me is the best gift of all.
Meat.
And me.
Oh, I thought you said meat.
Meat,
is the best
that'd be
gift
true.
of all. Oh, good
Now
stuff,
who's
baby.
dirty?
Right, yeah.
This one says night at the movies, your choice. And I changed it to say night at the movies, your treat.
I'm going to have to say that's probably the best one.
Love is life's greatest treasure.
Alright.
I changed to say I is life's greatest treasure.
Good grammar, after
This
we
one
just
says
settled the Oxford
breakfast
comma.
in bed. And I was like, that's too much work. So now it says breakfast in restaurant. Which you would actually prefer anyway.
Right, yeah.
This one says love goes on forever. And I said love goes on for 3 to 5 minutes. This one I didn't have to change. A romantic evening of dining and dancing. That's fine.
Yeah.
This one says love is kind. And I wrote of lame. Kind of. This one says
Showing your
a 3-day
romantic side.
This,
Oh,
actually,
boy.
if you added all these up, this could be expensive little coupon book. Like you
Yeah.
think you're getting out cheap buying like a $3 book,
But if
it's
they
like
pull it-
cruises and breakfast in bed. Like this one says
Right.
a 3-day cruise to nowhere. It says to nowhere, and I wrote to Sexy Town. A 3-day cruise to Sexy Town.
Mm-hmm.
That way you don't actually have to get on a boat.
Right, yeah. You can say,
Find it.
wherever I am, that's
Yeah,
sexy
sexy
town.
town. This one says
I
love
see what
always
you did there.
protects, and I wrote its investments. This one's good
I don't
too.
know why that one's funny to me.
Night out with your friends, no questions asked. And I wrote night out with my friends, no questions asked.
I know your friends. We're not going out with
This
them.
one says love does not envy or boast, and I wrote I does not envy or, and then I scratched out boast. So basically, I does not envy. This one says personal treat of choice, and I wrote personal pizza of choice.
You get one personal pan pizza. of
This
your
one
choice.
says love covers all, and I just wrote if you know what I mean. This one is good too. It says full body massage, and I scratched out massage and just wrote full body inspection and critique.
I'm sure we deem that one right away.
Right, yeah. This one said love warms the heart, and I changed it to genitals. This one I won't read on here. This one says love
Give her
always,
some privacy after
this
you're
one
airing
says,
all this.
Love always trusts, and I wrote comma but verifies. It's wise words.
Yes.
Trust but verify. I think that was
Reagan.
Reagan, yeah, Reagan. This one says an afternoon at the mall, and I changed it to casino. And I said, this one says love is not rude or self-seeking, and I changed it to Mongo is not rude or self-seeking. He's my
But Mongo
beloved
loves.
Mongo dog. This
Mongo
one
knows
is perfectly
only
fine
Mongo.
too. A day on the couch to watch movies. I was like, I'm down with that.
No modification necessary.
And this one says love is not easily angered, and I changed it to satisfied. So that was it. That was my
Well,
my lovely.
so how did she respond to your lovely...
Of course, she knows that this is the sign of true love.
Yep.
Effort, man. That's personalized
Personal
effort.
effort, right.
Anyone can just go
that's what
buy
I'm saying.
flowers.
That's what I'm
Who
saying. What's so
spent
funny about that thing? It's like the whole
3.5 minutes
point.
with a Sharpie.
That's what I'm saying. The whole point.
Specifically,
The whole point of these coupon style things is to do the personal effort touch, even if it is chintzy. But to
Right.
have bought coupons,
Right, to buy
like
them.
someone who didn't modify it and just like
right.
stuck it in a
Well,
thing of
literally just
flowers,
bought this
like
thing that said love coupons. But I didn't even know what they were in there.
I'm using a corporate recreation of a lazy
Right.
personalized gift.
Right. Yeah, it was to just be able to create something, and I did the best of both worlds then. Because I'm just awesome.
Very
at that.
funny.
See, I'm good at it. In the past, I made a cat litter candy cat litter box for Valentine's Day.
Candy
I got
cat
like
litter
a
box?
little box, like a shallow Tupperware thing, and I put like I don't remember if it was like the hearts. I think it was just those chalky hearts, and I dumped them in there so it looked like cat litter, and then I put a stuffed cat in there,
Yeah.
and then like some Tootsie Rolls that I
That's like
unwrapped.
a
It looks like shits.
That's funny.
So
Yeah.
it was a candy cat litter box.
Right.
It was funny.
Yep.
That was it. That's how I does it. That's how we do
I just go down the grocery store aisle when we're getting like a dinner together and be like, "You want that?" And they're like, "Yeah." And then here, hand it to
Happy
them. Like,
Valentine's
Happy Valentine's.
Then you run out.
Right, yeah.
They make her pay for it.
Yeah, slap it out of their hand and run. Yeah. Like, we'll put it back. That's the closest you get into it.
Smell it. Now put it back.
Alright.
Also, I feel remiss if I didn't mention MMA because I'm a huge MMA fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you saw the results of the Ronda Rousey fight.
I did not actually.
Another crazy first-round finish.
For Rousey.
14 seconds, yeah.
Like I said, whoever's on the most steroids here.
I don't think she's on steroids.
No,
She was literally, I don't know, you probably don't know this, but she's basically, her mom was insane.
Yeah.
And she was raised to basically, like, the closest I can compare it to is, like, those old Kung Fu movies.
Oh, so she's been doing this longer
she was
than
doing
any of her
judo
competitors,
for,
basically.
she was young, from like basically as a child, and she was an Olympic bronze medalist in judo. She's actually the first.
Whereas, since there's so many more male
American
competitors, there's probably there's a whole lot of male competitors
in fight sports.
In fight sports, right? So it'd be like,
or at least wrestling, or something.
Right, but so there'd be plenty of guys who had lived a life like that, where they started early wrestling, judo, whatever.
But I'm not even talking about like when
women.
she started. I'm talking about like the way her mom raised her. Like I'll tell you the specifics. Like she was literally crazy.
Okay.
Like she would. She was the first. Her mom was the first American to win a judo like championship. It wasn't in the Olympics, and Rousey was the first to win a Olympic medal. Who was a Westerner, or who American at least, maybe not the only Westerner.
Both male and female, or first American female?
I think she was the first. Certainly
judo,
female.
But maybe even the first just general judo champion in the Olympics.
Maybe. Huh? But it's certainly females. I can't say
that's
100%.
an accomplishment.
Yeah. So
either way, that's an accomplishment.
But like, so like a lot of people, like she's the first person I've ever seen who, because everyone says like, I train harder than them. And like, I believe it with her. Like, she just lives that lifestyle. Because her mom would do things
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's amongst the guys, there's plenty of guys who live that way, or just simply because if you take a 1% slice of a million dudes trying to compete versus
more likely to find
those high level guys versus a 1% slice of how
like
many
now,
competitors.
Like, if you took the last month and said Kat Zingano versus Ronda Rousey, they put in the same amount of hours. I'm sure when we're talking like a lifetime and the lifestyle.
Right, yeah.
Like,
but I'm just saying because of the numbers involved.
Like she was talking
there's simply
about
many more male competitors,
right.
so there's a chance. There's many more guys that have.
It's certainly not a gap like there is with the women.
Exactly. Yeah. There's more guys to fill the top ranks because there's more guys that have lived that level of commitment.
But she, like her mom, the way her mom, like quote unquote, trained her.
Yeah.
Some people would probably consider abusive.
Right. Yeah.
Like she would sometimes make, like if she would get injured, not like seriously injured, but she had some sort of minor injury, she would like purposely schedule other competitions and stuff so she would learn how to like train or fight through injury. She lied to her about the rules when she was young, so that she told her there was a penalty if you didn't have like an attack in judo every like minute of the match.
So she'd be aggressive.
So she would be more aggressive.
So she thought
she would literally jump on her like in the middle of the night to get her to defend arm bars.
Like
just wake her up, like Kato,
yeah.
And she and she would all sorts of crazy stuff like that.
Jeez. Yeah, well then that makes more sense.
Yeah, so she literally that's just her mindset now. She's been doing that since she was
'cause, like,
8, 10 years old.
I always made the joke about the steroids, but it's really just because I could tell there was something
different
about like her level of aggression and
and obviously
else.
she's in physical shape and is a physical beast, but I mean that comes from part of it too.
Right.
But most of it I think is just that mindset. Like,
being cultured with a very aggressive mindset and very.
That's a lot of catching up for these other girls to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't think that she's physically just that much better than all of them.
Right.
Because you could even take the Olympic gold medalist from that year. She's not going to beat any of these women in an MMA match.
Right.
It's not just her judo skills.
Right.
It's just the intensity and everything too. So.
Right. Exactly.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, because her combined, she's never had a fight go the distance.
Yeah.
Only one fight has ever got out of the first round. And only one other fight has ever got out of the first minute. So all of her fights but 2 are less than a minute. And one of those is 1 minute and 6 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's just outmatching all them.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy.
That'll be interesting. Like I said, I think that disparity there is just... I mean, like, there's been situations in the men's MMA early on where similar things happen, where guys were undefeated for a long time.
You still see guys who are just awesome, like GSP, John Jones. Like, there's dominant guys.
Right, exactly.
It's not for the same reasons.
Right. Yeah. It's... The dominant guys just don't last as long, or they have more close competitors, is what I'm saying. Because there's simply more male competitors in general.
Talking about. Yeah, there's more competitors, and like there's not that humongous gap in... Because like John Jones, he's beat everyone impressively, but like no one's going to be like, oh, why? Like he hasn't cleaned out the division. Like John or Gustafsson did really well against him. Certainly, Anthony Johnson has a chance against him. Yeah, stuff like that. So. There's definitely matches to be made where now it's like there's no one can even realistically compete with Ronda Rousey, at least not currently.
It's just going to probably take a while because there's nobody, like I said, there's a lot of catching up
to do. Right. She's been living in her life, her entire life.
She was just way ahead of the curve because there was no other females being trained with that intensity versus like there was been, even though there hasn't been MMA for as many years, there's been guys that trained in fight sports with super intensity for generations.
Or, and you can come in as being like a Brock Lesnar, or someone who's just a super, super good amateur
basic wrestler,
and compete based
or just
on
a physical powerhouse like that with a skill in one of the fight sports, and then train the other methods.
So it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I noticed something when we were out getting some food. Just one of those.
The obesity epidemic?
Part of it, right? Not quite, actually. These people were not obese. Their customers might have been. But no, we went by like KFC, and it was just kind of... You just notice how ratty some places are, but that's not even what I wanted to talk about. It was funny because I think 100% of the employees saw there were like, Indian.
I think there's like
or
a
Pakistani
the other
or something.
one is the same. The other one over by my house.
Yeah.
So they own both of them, I think.
It's one of those things that had never connected to me before. Like you almost never see them working like Burger King.
The beef.
It's because
I never
KFC sells chicken and no beef. I was like, duh, because like there's all kinds of.
I thought they just picked one, like the Vietnamese at nail salons.
Right? Yeah, you think it's one of those racial stereotypes.
You guys normally do the gas stations,
and you're like, why did that develop? Like,
that makes sense.
Why did nail salons develop as like Vietnamese like thing? Yeah. What's so funny is that I saw when I lived in Orlando some years ago, there was a place that was a restaurant kit store. They sold
for Chinese
restaurants. Basically, it was a guy made his money. Exactly. He sold those menus that look the same everywhere for those hole in the wall Chinese restaurants.
Just like a takeout.
And basically, it's like a starter kit. Like, welcome to the America. Now get out, $500,000 in debt to start your restaurant, and you'll owe me, and I'll start you a restaurant, and you'll earn it back.
So probably a better deal than a student loan.
Yeah, probably exactly. The funny thing is, as much as that might be almost like a loan sharky scam, it's still better than a student loan because at the end of it, you own a restaurant.
Or at least if you're like, this isn't working, jog on.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
They can't do anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's not held by the government like a student loan, where all of a sudden you're indebted to a bank and the government at the same time, or depending on who they want to default it to,
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was just funny. Like, I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's one of those. It's not really a stereotype that I would say I see many times, but it is one of those things you notice. Like, you'll see a lot of people, like, why certain groups run certain things. Like, they obviously don't go into fast food that much. They run like.
They turn on the gas
station stuff simply because it would be a religious issue if they worked at a Burger King. That, it's like, oh, well, duh.
Right. Yeah, because if they are like Hindu or whatever. Then
right. Or even, I guess like if they're Muslim they could, but if they're Hindu,
except for the bacon.
Exactly. I guess that's why it would be the inverse. Like the chicken place is the only one that satisfies both, either Muslim or Hindu. Right. You don't have to worry about it because you're not serving beef or bacon.
Well, still, I would guess that the rrestaurants aren't like halal, which is the Muslim version of kosher.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's probably a lot more restrictive.
But with Indians, I don't think they have as many like restrictions.
There's
on
not
how
preparations.
The food is prepared.
As far as I know,
there's some customs, but I don't think it's like
there's not religious restrictions on the preparation as far as I know. Some of it though is some of the Buddhist or Hindu is vegan or vegetarian. I mean, so there might be those restrictions.
But I don't think there would be like a religious opposition to selling it. Maybe
I don't know. I don't know if the
I don't think if you were like a hardcore Buddhist, probably. But not like Hindu.
Well, perhaps. Well, no, I would think the other way around. I would think because the Buddhist is the one that it's all about your actions. It doesn't matter what the world's doing, kind of thing.
But you're not going to still take part in like selling dead animals, probably.
Probably not. But at the same time,
or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, that's a little different.
They don't tend to. The Buddhism doesn't tend to lend itself towards business ownership anyway.
Right? Yeah,
and asceticism and everything.
Well, that's what's funny is that like people like to think that stuff, and sometimes it does. But yeah, there's been plenty of like Buddhist rebels and stuff. Like in the
the Buddhist monks are always fighting everybody.
Right? Yeah. There's even cases of Buddhist monks like becoming bandits because like they're living in ascetic mountains. We are so broke, and we know all this kung fu. What are we going to do? We'll beat people up and take their food and money.
Right. Well, especially
it didn't happen all the time, but I mean, just because they, human beings are human beings. They'll misabuse anything.
Human's gonna human.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But anyway.
So yeah, you just showed me this hilarious '90s commercial. I don't think we should tell what happens.
No, we'll just link to it. It came up to me though because it was a funny case of that Facebook freebooting we've talked about before, where somebody linked it in Facebook. Innocently, I believe. I believe this was a case of just a person not knowing what... It was a friend of a friend kind of thing, so I followed the links trying to find the original source of this video.
Right.
And I thought I recognized who it was made by, and it turns out I did eventually. Actually, the original poster of the link even mentioned in their thing where they got it.
Which is good.
But it was the same... Well, they mentioned it like 100 comments down, but still.
After someone asks,
like, oh, was this a real commercial? It's like, no, it's a spoof.
From Kim Wong.
From, yeah, I forget the guy's name, but it's the Rocket Jump is his YouTube
Wong.
channel. Freddie Wong, I think, right?
Freddie, let me check.
I can't remember exactly. But anyway, he's a guy who's made a name for himself on YouTube making his own videos, and he has a channel called Rocket Jump now, and he does his own special effects.
This one's relatively recent.
This is a relatively recent, and it was just a parody of those old Capri Sun commercials and stuff from the 90s,
like
Nerf and Sunny D and all that kind of jazz, or Hot Pockets.
But it has a kind of a twist, which makes it
right. Yeah, so we'll link it, but it was we won't say more about it because it was.
This is too funny.
It's too funny to give away. Basically, it's a pitch perfect copy of these kind of commercials.
Right, so we'll post this on the.
We'll link it. But yeah, what was funny to me is it, again, illustrated why that Facebook freebooting kind of stuff is a problem. Is this was a case of it being innocent, so it's not even really a problem in this case.
It wasn't like a content hoster doing it. It was just
right.
Like,
it wasn't somebody
hey, check out this video. It's fun.
Right, but they didn't put the original link.
Right.
They just somehow embedded the video. So unless you did research, you wouldn't know where it came from.
What also means you should probably put some sort of credits in your video,
right?
But like you said, some of them, like when it's done maliciously,
they'll just rip it off.
Out.
Yeah, they'll cut it out.
At least then the
right. But that's the point I'm making here is that even with someone innocently sharing this with their friends because it's funny, it still didn't end up helping the person that they were trying to share it for.
At least not nearly as much.
Not nearly as much as it should have. And that's just one of those things that people need to be aware about in this digital age. Is that these things are free because they get views. Right. So if you're not helping drive views to the originator, it's going to stop being free eventually. Right. So
it doesn't necessarily help them all that much if everyone's watching it and not knowing where it came from.
Right, exactly. Or not watching it on the original source or something, you know.
Right.
So it's just...
I mean, yeah, obviously...
Again, public service announcement, cite your sources, kids.
Yeah. Try to link back to the original as much as possible.
Right. I see it also with like Imager and stuff. Like people link to a web comic that's funny.
And they'll just have a host.
But they just host it themselves on their own Imager or something. And there's no mention of what webcomic it came from or whatever. And it's like, take 2 seconds to point it back to the people who did it. Or just direct hot link to the site.
That's the best way to do
it.
Because
like the thing is that these people nobody can do everything for free for the rest of their lives.
Right.
Even those that don't put ads on their site or anything, deserve the respect of being mentioned.
Of
knowing who it is and whose work it was.
And then maybe if the people who like it will like it, it'll help them too because they'll be able to find more of this guy's comics instead of just seeing a one-off thing. Oh, that was funny. They can see the guy's whole archives. Or whatever.
Right, exactly. They can find something to do for the next 5
and
months of their life.
So like even if that particular one, he didn't get that view counted. If that person's now a fan, that can help him at least.
Right. Oh, and it can also help the fan, as you said. They have a more entertaining thing to look at.
He's got access to that content that they liked.
Right.
So that's the goal.
The problem is just, with the internet being as big as it is, getting people to know of you is the trouble. And when people don't mention who they're linking it from, it just doesn't help the problem. And that's why a lot of the big companies and stuff still exist, is they simply have the monopoly on advertising power because of money. And they don't have to worry about non-hot, like not being attributed because everything's stamped with their logo and they've got millions of dollars to waste in making sure you know who they are and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the average person doesn't. The average creator who's trying to eke out a living by making a webcomic somewhere, getting $5 a month
trying
on
to make a living, but they're trying to make
some
it
of them
worth
are.
Their time.
Right, they're trying to make it worth their time, or some of them are trying to make a living, trying to scrape out $5 a pop off Patreon, and if nobody tells who they are, they're going to basically be like, well, I guess I'll not have a family this year or something because I didn't make any more money.
I'll not have a family.
Right, yeah.
The Rooms to Go came and collected my family.
Right, yeah, exactly. But I mean, I'm just saying, you get to a point where it's like, honey, I want to have a kid. And they're like, well, as soon as we make more than $25 a month, we'll talk about it.
Right.
Of course, that's just life. But
speaking of making money, $25 a month, I went on this spree a few months ago, buying a bunch of domain names. I don't know if I've already mentioned this on here. I don't think I have. But we have a tendency to rehash the same topics over and over again. So go fuck yourselves if you're pissed off at that.
If I repeat myself, it's only because I say the best thing.
All 3 of you can cram it up your ass.
Not you, Mom. No.
Sorry, Mom.
Sorry, Mom. One of the 3 is on Mom.
Yeah. The other 2 can cram it up your asses.
Right, yeah. You can cram it up each other's asses for all I care.
You can finger pop each other's assholes. Anyways, I went on a spree where I think I read some article or something where people were like,
making money off of selling that.
And it wasn't that simple. Like, I thought about, I knew about it before, but I just got in and I was like, you know what? And it just made me think of some particular ones that because of...
What you should have done is bought all the Taylor Swift one if you were thinking ahead. Because you see that story recently?
No.
Taylor Swift, like, some problems. Somebody made, like, some websites that had Taylor Swift's name. One of them was even by the person who had trained her as a kid in guitar. No, well, they made a site like itrainedtaylorswift.com.
Yeah.
And so it was like him selling his guitar training, musical teacher services.
Right.
And so then they sued him, like, you can't use my name. And so then after that, they went around. Her team of lawyers has just been these new pop stars that have... Yeah. They basically aren't musicians anymore. They're a front woman for a team of people.
Well, she's actually probably the exception. Like, she actually plays music and writes her songs.
Right, but even with that, I'm saying all of these people have such a huge team of brand.
It's annoying because, in some ways they have to do that.
Right, I can't begrudge them the fact that they need that.
Based on copyright stuff that if you can lose your copyright ownership of the material if you don't defend it when it comes up.
Yeah.
So it's stupid. So even if you don't think it's a big deal, you have to do it because otherwise someone down the road can say, hey,
well, so whether it's them or the laws that force them to be like this, I'm not commenting on. I'm just saying the point that the state it's at now, basically they went around buying up all Taylor Swift.
At least that's a good way of doing it.
Right. They bought up all the Taylor Swift, any URL that had Taylor Swift in it, and one of them was like, I taught Taylor Swift how to give blowjobs.
And they bought it?
And they bought it. So, like, Taylor Swift owns,
like
I taught Taylor Swift how to give blowjobs.
How much
it's like, who thought of that? Because what it is like, I guarantee you no one owned that one already.
No,
it was one of the ones where it's like...
And most of mine were like that too, surprisingly.
You have to, it gets generated on the spot if nobody thinks about it yet.
Right.
Because that's how URLs work. What it is there's some sort of national registry, because there can only be one of each specific character set per a .com, a net, or whatever.
Right.
And so
it's an address.
Most of the time they don't exist until someone, unlike physical land address where the place is there and gets assigned a number based on the street it's on.
Right.
It gets spontaneously generated when somebody decides they want to own that
name. Is
and then it gets registered.
How does GoDaddy get to be the one who says, like, I can sell this to me now? Why, if it doesn't exist yet, why can't I just be like, I own this now?
Because there's some sort of broker underneath these laws.
Yeah, but what are they selling? That's my point. Like, I don't understand the process.
There's some sort of like net code rule where like they're not even selling the server space. They're basically
there's nothing there.
They're filing on your behalf, kind of thing, or something.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and like they file with the net code agency,
staking
the claim. Yeah, there's some sort of middleman then that stakes the claim on that URL, and
they create.
But I don't know. It's kind of ridiculous because it's the same idea that like you've got to pay this private institution to own something that nobody owns yet.
Yeah, that no one owns yet. Yeah.
Okay, but it's how it got set up.
Something they are sort of creating that domain for me to now.
Right, and there is some sort of like,
but it's like a yearly thing,
right?
Too.
But in the end, all it does is it goes back to you create a thing like
I gave Taylor Swift blowjobs.
You gave her blowjobs, huh?
Yeah.
I taught her to give blowjobs.com. It means that somewhere there's a string of computer numbers, not even those letters. There's a code in binary or in HTML, in the markup language that's using the ITP protocol or whatever. A little outside of my depth here, but just, I know just enough to know that there's some code somewhere that represents this physical address, but it's not even a physical address, because technically what it is each website...
We're boring people now.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, that's what's so funny about it, though, is each website is literally just a thing that points to something else, which is the physical server space.
That's just a telephone number for it.
It would be like if you had a house. Like, the house is actually your server space.
You're buying the number.
But the number is a thing that warps people to your house.
Because it's not like a street.
Because it's not really like... The URL is not linked to where the actual site is hosted.
I actually foresee... with all the new different types of masking and stuff they're doing, I foresee domains being less and less important as time goes on.
Technically, simply for branding purposes, having a domain.
But the more impressive that these searching algorithms get, you're not going to have to type in. If I just put Walmart, it'll just go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you have a strong enough brand.
But yeah, exactly, that's true. So a lot of it becomes more about how much of the search engine you can influence than what your actual URL is.
Yeah.
Because how much of a web presence where you can infiltrate the sharing and searching things.
Anyway, so I bought a bunch of these. I didn't get any Taylor Swift. I bet they didn't pay much for them. They're probably $100 or something.
Right, yeah. But, it depends. Like, you could hold out and be like, because that was,
you really think they'd be that worried about I taught Taylor Swift how to give blowjobs?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Like, if they didn't get that one?
Right, yeah.
Probably not. But maybe you got a grand. Who knows?
Yeah, there's the people who, there's the website Penny Arcade, right?
Yeah.
Penny Dash Arcade. They try to get Penny Arcade, no dash ones. There's still some lady holding out for like $50,000, and so they've never bought it.
Surprised they haven't paid it for $50,000.
I don't know what it is. It might be more than that. I made up a number, but
I know some guy bought Ebola.com a few years ago and sold it for like $700,000 last year.
Basically, my point though is that that woman or whatever who owns Penny Arcade not being able. Those guys run 4 conventions now. They make millions of dollars.
That's what I mean.
So they should this person's holding out for a lot of money.
That's what I mean. Like I would, if it was $50,000, I'm surprised they didn't just pay it. But maybe it's just on principle and the fact that they don't need it.
Right. It's not hurting them at all.
Right.
Obviously.
Exactly.
Everybody knows who they are within that realm of video game nerddom.
Right. Like they got to where they are without this domain, so it's really not a big deal.
But anyway, so you were selling.
Yeah. Well, I bought a lot, and I was looking at mostly like trending stuff that wasn't big yet, but I thought would be. Right. So I got a bunch related to marijuana legalization. The states that either just did it or are going to do it. And nothing too crazy, but like Colorado marijuanafarmers.com, stuff like that. Right, got like Sun State Cannabis because Florida's trying to legalize it and will within the next few years, and just different things like that. I got some that were I got a lot of misspellings.
Sun State Cannabis.
Yeah, I got a lot of misspellings of 50 Shades of Grey, and those are actually getting a lot of like several like residual clicks just to the blank.
Did you just blanket them with
no? GoDaddy has the ability to put a page there. I'm going to make a static page with some Amazon affiliate links to the movies and the books and see if I can get some clicks there. Because right now it's only getting, several clicks a month, or a week. 5 to 6 clicks a week just by people mistyping it.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
But if you actually get it bumped up in the search rankings because there's something there, people are accidentally clicking and then using the site, it may get bumped up. Right. Maybe I can put a stupid static article in there like why you should, whatever. Anything.
Why you should buy ginkgo biloba.
Right. For 50 Shades of Grey performance enhancement.
Right, yeah.
Or sex toys seen in the movie 50 Shades of Grey. Link to the affiliate sales on it.
It's funny how weird and shady the internet is.
Right. But,
and now you're part of it.
And then, so one of them was, I sold that because I bought most of these I went ahead because I realized I was getting a lot of them. So I went ahead and paid for some like pro domain subscription where I get them all for like $5 instead of $8 or something.
Right.
Or $7 instead of $9.
Some bulk discount.
Well, I did the math and I was like, if I'm going to get like more than 50, I actually save money because it was like $49 for the year and I saved like 150 or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, but I ended up buying something like 80 of them and spending like $800 on all these domains before I was like, fuck!
I need to stop.
What have I done?
Yeah.
But I actually sold one because I just put them on the GoDaddy auctions.
Yeah.
And I sold one for $100. It was one of the pot ones. It was like Centennial State Cannabis Oil. It was big because most of the state names themselves were taken.
Right.
Like Oregon marijuana.
So you used the second.
So I used like what the states are called, like
Right.
Sunshine State, Centennial State, stuff like that. And one of them for Oregon, they have a weird name. I don't remember what it was. It's not something you would think of for Oregon.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it was that one, cannabis.com or whatever. And it sold for $100.
There you go.
$99. So that was cool. So that's
you only need to sell 7 more at that rate.
That's not bad out of like 80 something that I have.
You probably went overboard a little bit.
Probably.
$800.
Yeah, but I got $100 back. So I guess
But that's just the problem with these ventures is like you start off getting an early sale and you're like, I can make it.
It wasn't early. That was just like 2 weeks ago.
Right, yeah, but you know what I mean. Like you sell something at one point and then you're like,
well, I can make
it
before it actually sold anything. That's the problem. Yeah. But at least it proves the concept. So and then
but that's the thing. Sometimes the proving the concept would be the worst thing because then you hang on forever.
Well, now it's good. Well, there's nothing.
Now it's good at this point because you're not putting any more into it. You've already spent the money. Now
right, already spent the money. But we're starting. Me and my friend are opening because he sells stuff through live auctioneers.
Yeah,
which is not like eBay because it goes up more like a live auction, but it's sort of in between.
Right, so it's a digitally accessed live auction.
Right.
Unlike eBay, where it's like a
individual
listings auction. It's like this: you host an auction on a certain day. People who are into it's a little bit more for people looking for specific kinds of things because they have to quote unquote digitally attend the auction during a certain time.
Right.
Like usually a 24-hour window or something, right?
Something like that. Like it goes off on this one day or whatever.
Right.
And like each one goes in order. Like this one's open for 5 minutes or whatever.
Right. So you have to be there physically. It's like a digital version of the Home Shopping Network hosting an auction.
Yeah. It's
because you have to it's live. You have to look at it, and for the next 5 minutes, this item is being bid on.
Right.
Kind of thing. It makes it interesting, but
so we're doing a domain auction there. So I put like 55 of the ones that I was interested in selling on this thing, and we'll throw them up there sometime next week and see how that goes. Hopefully sell a few of them. Because I have
How do you transfer that kind of stuff?
GoDaddy has a transfer process.
So they would have to just get a GoDaddy account.
They just send an email to this, and I approve it or whatever, and then they don't have to. It doesn't have to be GoDaddy. It can be any other hosting. Then they'll send it to them.
Okay.
It's just a transfer. Obviously, they'd probably prefer if it was GoDaddy, but it didn't have to be.
Right.
Anything. And so it costs like $100 to do. It's different than eBay because you have to pay for the auction.
Well, it's like running a real auction.
So you have at least 12 things, but it's
and you have to be a licensed auctioneer to have an account with
that.
that.
Yeah, we both are. But so you pay $100 for the auction. So it behooves you to have more than a few things. So you could have a lot, and then it drags your cost.
Right, but as far as I know, a lot of it too is a lot of people are auctioning off to like businesses, like in bulk and stuff like that. Sometimes
depends. He sells jewelry to individuals and stuff, so it just depends. But also to resellers, just anywhere else. But this one would be most oriented towards probably resellers, with maybe some people who want to use it for their actual businesses.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. See if I can sell any more of these things.
Any more of your pot websites?
I was so happy to sell one because at least I'm not completely crazy.
Right.
But some of them, like GoDaddy has an automated appraisal service. It's free. You just click on it and it gives you an appraisal based on, it's not super accurate, obviously, because it doesn't count in, like Ebola. It wouldn't have known that Ebola was like super trending in the news or whatever. But it would a little bit because it tracks keywords. Like if it's a real word and it's short, it'll be worth, and it's making a lot of keyword activity. It's going to be worth more than something that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And some of them were valued, or several of them, probably 10 at least, that are valued in the hundreds of dollars on the service, like from $100 to $500. So.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will be that will bear out. I think the key will be getting people to just be like, oh, I should buy a domain, and not ones people are actually looking for.
Right. Yeah.
But if not, I'll just keep them on. I'll probably throw up some on eBay because there's actually a domain. You can sell domains on eBay.
Yeah.
Or and then just keep them listed on the GoDaddy auctions too. Hopefully I'll sell some. And then I'm actually going to try and make the static website for and just have all the 50 Shades of Grey misspellings masked to one of the anchors, and then just have affiliate sales to Amazon from there. And then if I could, you don't need to make that much money.
Which apparently, that of course, has predicted that movie is making a lot of money.
Right, even though no one really likes it.
Yeah, even though it's like, it's just one of those things about humanity. I think I talked about this. Did I talk about this last time? Or one of the other times. But basically, it's just one of those silly things about the modern world, where that the most mediocre tends to rise because it has to be, all it needs to be is liked by enough people a little bit. It doesn't have to actually be good enough to get, Yeah,
it's more important how many people like it than how much they like it.
Exactly. All it needs to be is of mild interest to a lot of people. Ooh, it's kind of interesting. The salacious gets to the top because everybody is
like Magic the Gathering, where a small number of people really, really like it.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Or some other movie, maybe. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Or some cult hit movie where it's a better movie, better storytelling. Whatever, better characters, but it doesn't have that mass appeal.
But also, there's not even so much mass appeal as there is a trend threshold. That once it gets past a certain point, it doesn't even matter if these people would have liked it on their own.
It doesn't even matter if they hate it. That's what I'm saying.
Now they like it.
Enough eyeballs are on it because everybody's talking about it, versus it's an actually good thing to talk about.
Right. Or they really just want to talk about that. It's kind of like just talking about the Super Bowl, even if they don't care about the teams. It's what everyone else is talking about.
Right, exactly.
It's what's big in the news kind of thing.
It's just,
there's a threshold for that.
Weird, because it's kind of dehumanizing, the fact that,
which shows people are just animals in so many
ways.
Right,
well, it's a hive now. Society's so big, everything counts in large amounts.
If you take most of these people and no one else had ever heard of the book and you had them read it, they probably wouldn't really care about it. A lot of them. Some sure would. Obviously, it takes a little bit of people liking it to get over that threshold.
Right.
But there's some just viral aspects to these things that...
Right, well, it's that aspect that, a lot of... There's also, it's the thing that's, there's a lot more mediocre people than there are great people. Right. So there's a lot more mediocre people to appeal to,
Exactly.
So that's part of it, So that's the problem with...
What's crappy is...
I hesitated to put it this way, but that's the problem with democracy, in a sense, in air quotes, because it's if the main goal of anything is to appeal to the crowd, well, the majority of the crowd is probably going to be
thing is you would think that, great stuff would appeal to great people and mediocre people, but it doesn't really work that way.
Right, exactly. You know what I mean? You would think it'd be so good that everyone would want it, but it's not always
you have to pass up what the mediocre people would like to get to the great people, but it's almost like it can't be good, or the trolls will just reject it.
Now, it goes the other way, too, sometimes. There's things that the elites self-styled elites think is great. You know, all you got to do is look at the Oscars and stuff.
Right.
To talk about
But
last
I would
time.
consider them great people.
Right? Yes, but you know what I mean. Like, there's
Right.
people that they're in the upper half of society
Yeah.
or whatever, and the things that they like are just too rarefied. And you look at it, and you're like, no, the stuff that they turn down, like they always deride, like they even had it in the. I mentioned it before, but like, you know, Hollywood is now full of like superhero movies, and you know, like,
Yeah,
and
they want to reject something that's pure entertainment value just because.
Right.
Like, it's not
even if it's
bad,
actually a good made
right.
movie,
Even if it's just entertaining, like,
or just entertaining.
Entertainment for entertainment's sake is perfectly fine.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? But they like reject that. It has to be like deeper or make some sort of, you know, statement about something.
Right, even if it makes a crap statement with not a very good,
They'd rather
not even a very good way of making that statement. Like, it doesn't make the case very well.
Right.
It just makes a case
They're
that's
just happy
popular with
that
them.
it did it, and that it's not just entertainment for entertainment's sake.
Right.
Sometimes it's fun to just drive fast and shoot things. You
Right,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
And movies are like that too. Like,
And sometimes you can have a
enjoy things
well-crafted
for-
action movie.
Right.
Even if that's basically all you're saying is it's a well-crafted hamburger versus like a mediocre crafted filet mignon.
You can still say like this didn't take any sort of super artistic talent, but it still tasted good.
Right,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? You can
But I mean,
enjoy
it's like
that
the difference
simple
between
things
like
for their
modern
own
art
sake.
and a well-crafted table.
Right.
Well-crafted table still took craftsmanship and was a time-honored tradition of making tables.
Or you can appreciate that
but
it's just sturdy
the modern
and does what
art
it's
has no
supposed to do.
use, but it says something, and it's kind of
Right.
ugly actually, but
Right.
it says something. You know,
Right.
okay, but
Or it's just different for different sake when you
Yeah,
don't really
yeah.
like it or even
Yeah.
eat it.
it's just a badge. But anyway, like, yeah, it just comes down to like the stratification of taste and stuff like that, and it's not always going the right way. Is my whole point. It's so funny to watch because like you get certain things that are popular because it appeals to the basest and dumbest big section of the population.
Right.
Or like I said, even if it's dumb, it has enough salaciousness that everybody kind of wants to see what it's about, even if it's not
But
particularly
not
good.
enough to turn away
not
like a majority of people.
Right. Or you have the stuff that's it's everybody acts like it's really great, but it's still pretty crappy. It just
Right.
is a badge of honor to like that thing for the people who are better than the
just wanna be in
average.
the group, yeah.
And then the stuff in the middle gets lost because the people at the top got to poo-poo it for not being good enough,
Right.
and the people in the middle may like it, but it's not quite like, oh, yo, dog, did you see that Transformers?
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay, man, you know, it's like, did you like this movie? No, man, I like Transformers. Why? Because there's that one that talked old ghetto like. You're like, oh man, oh god.
All right. So I think I'm gonna go and ride my moto in front of Les
Your
Man's
motorcycle.
and I gotta finish up trying to sell these domains.
Do you do that? You just ride around and go. That was a South
mouth noise.
South Park where they were like they were making their own noise. Like
There was this guy that I deployed with who's from the
Yeah.
Dominican. He was
Yeah.
another officer, and so he was even older than I am. But he said when he was a kid, that I guess they didn't have any real toys.
Right, yeah.
But he said he did that so often. He was probably like 8 years old. He went around doing the. He
On
did
a
like so
bike.
much. No, just like pretending to be.
right, like on a bicycle.
Well, I don't even think he was on anything.
Oh, okay, just running around like,
But
yeah, I'm gonna
he
have a
did it so
motorcycle.
much that his lips got like swollen and sore from just going too much. That's hilarious. And then he said he came over when he came over to the U.S. He didn't speak English, and the first movie he watched was Tango and Cash.
Oh, yeah?
and it blew his mind.
Yeah.
He was like, "What? This
Yeah.
is awesome!
Yeah, holy cow!
My mind is blown."
Tango and Cash.
Yeah, it's a good choice.
Yeah.
All right. So
And to think the critics never gave that any love.
right, exactly.
Blew this
We were just
little
talking
kid's
about
mind.
this, yeah.
All right, well, that'll wrap it up for this week.
Check the website for the links to the stuff that we're talking about.
Yep.
We'll talk to you guys later.
Adios.